It's a really disturbing question, isn't it? How can one of our best instincts, the desire to protect children, get twisted and used as a weapon? How can a genuinely good intention be hijacked to fuel a dangerous lie, one with fatal consequences? Well, that's the unsettling question right at the heart of the Wayfair conspiracy.
To really get this, we have to rewind to January 6th, 2021. Because when you look at the images from the US Capitol that day, yeah, you see a lot of symbols of hate. But researchers found something else going on, another powerful motivation. And this quote from Polaris just nails it. It was a concern for the safety of children. Now, it was a concern totally fueled by false narratives, for sure. But the intention? It was benevolent. And honestly, that's what makes this story so much more complex and so much more dangerous. So how does an idea like that, a benevolent force leading people astray, actually play out in a real person's life? To understand, let's just trace the path of one individual. It shows just how this kind of dangerous devotion can lead to a tragic and very real end. What is just so alarming here is the speed. I mean, look at this. In just a matter of months, Roseanne Boylan went from seeing the Wayfair theory on social media to being all in on the wider QAnon movement. Her family said she went to DC on January 6th because she genuinely believed she was a hero on a mission to save trafficked children. It's just a frighteningly fast radicalization, a fatal, real-world consequence that all started with a single click. Okay, so what exactly was this theory that captivated Roseanne Boylan and so many others? To get why it was so powerful, we really have to look at the so-called evidence and try to see it through the eyes of someone who's just desperately trying to connect the dots. It all kicked off with something that just felt weird. Users on Reddit and Twitter started noticing that Wayfair, the big online furniture store, was selling these industrial storage cabinets for like over $10,000 a piece. Now, to most of us, that's probably just a weird pricing glitch. But to a growing number of online sleuths, it was the first breadcrumb in a really dark mystery. And here it is. This is the hook. The one detail that made it all just click into place for believers. These weren't just any old expensive cabinets. They were listed with human first names, names like Naraya or Samaya. So what did people do? They searched these pretty uncommon names online, but they added the word missing. And bam, they got hits. They found profiles of real, actual missing children. To them, the conclusion was inescapable. Wayfair wasn't selling cabinets, they were selling kids. This comment from Reddit just perfectly captures the seductive logic of a conspiracy theory. The user even admits it doesn't totally make sense on the surface. But the details, they're just too strange, too specific to be a coincidence. It's that feeling of, what are the odds? That just starts to chip away at rational skepticism and pulls you deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole. And this is how the whole thing just exploded online. It didn't stay in its own little corner. You'd see a totally legitimate hashtag like #SaveTheChildren, right next to political ones like #MAGA, and then even deeper conspiracy tags like #RedPill. It created this kind of vortex where a genuine desire to protect kids got fused with a much bigger, politically charged ideology, and that's when it became truly powerful.
But you see, this weird story about overpriced furniture was never really about the furniture. It was actually serving a much larger, more strategic, and, well, a much more dangerous purpose. This wasn't just some random theory. It was engineered. It was a tool.
You know, security experts actually have a name for this. They call it a gateway narrative. You start with a soft topic, something that gets a powerful, passionate response from almost anyone, like protecting children. It's the perfect lure, right? Because who doesn't want to be a hero and save a kid?
And this right here, this is basically the playbook for how it works. Step 1 is the lure. You're drawn in by that noble, emotional call to #SaveTheChildren. Step 2 is the hook. You find a specific case, like Wayfair, which seems to have this tantalizing proof that you can go research for yourself. And before you know it, you're at step 3, co-option. You've been absorbed into the wider, more extreme world of QAnon, which connects everything back to some secret global cabal.
And the crazy part is, the spread wasn't just happening in the dark corners of the internet. The theory got laundered into the mainstream through the beautiful, curated feeds of wellness and lifestyle influencers on Instagram. They'd post about saving the children using these calming fonts and pretty aesthetics, a lot of times without ever even saying the word QAnon. This whole thing, sometimes called pastel QAnon, made the conspiracy seem, well, palatable, even aspirational, to a whole new audience.
But this was never just an online thing. The Wayfair hooks inevitably spilled out into the real world, and it had a devastating, totally measurable impact. And the real cost wasn't to Wayfair's reputation. It was to the very people that believers thought they were trying to save.
So take a look at this number, 42. What could that possibly mean in all of this? Well, it represents the real, tangible cost of this lie. The time and resources that the National Human Trafficking Hotline spent just dealing with thousands of false reports about Wayfair, that time could have been used to help 42 real victims of human trafficking. Every single minute spent on disinformation was a minute stolen from an actual person in crisis. The well-intentioned help wasn't just unhelpful, it was causing direct harm.
And the damage just rippled out from there. Law enforcement and organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children were just flooded with useless information. Real children whose names got falsely tied to the theory were harassed online, and all the noise from the conspiracy just completely drowned out the voices of actual survivors. It diverted critical resources away from the real fight.
Now you'd think that once a story is so completely debunked, it would just fade away. But that's not how these things work. These narratives are designed to be resilient. They're designed to stick around.
Conspiracy theories don't really die. They just go dormant, kind of like a volcano. In 2020, the Wayfair story just erupted. Then it quieted down. But just recently, with the release of the Epstein documents, the theory roared back to life. You had people everywhere claiming that this new event finally vindicated all the old, debunked claims.
And this recent post from social media shows you exactly how the cycle restarts. The same old debunked evidence gets presented as new vindication. The story is reborn, and the entire harmful cycle of disinformation just kicks off all over again, pulling in a whole new wave of believers.
And let's be crystal clear about the stakes here. This isn't just people chatting online. The FBI has actually identified movements fueled by these conspiracies as a domestic terror threat. Weaponizing a real crime to push disinformation? Well, experts say it isn't just a threat to anti-trafficking efforts, it's a critical threat to national security.
So that leaves us with this final, really difficult question. This whole thing started with a desire to do good, right? To save children. So when a lie hijacks that noble intention, how do we fight the disinformation without attacking the well-meaning people who've been captured by it? That's the challenge that really we're all facing now.